I can only imagine what the rates of Alzheimer and dementia are going to be in, say, 40 years.
True. Good
People who
question.
hit my age in 40 years, because we've killed off those creative and those critical things.
Welcome to the Shifan Show. This episode is brought to you by Prosperum Digital. Growing a business in 2026 is tough if you're not using the right systems. Heck, a lot of businesses still run on manual, outdated, stressful processes that pulls focus away from revenue and sales. That's where Prosperum comes in. We install AI automation systems that modernize your business, increasing the revenue and sales without the extra stress or having to hire extra staff members. And we give you back the most important thing as a business owner, which is your time, so you can actually enjoy running your business again. Book a call at www.prosperumdigital.com.au.
Today's guest, I'm very excited to have Gry Stene, who's a speaker, author, and digital transformation strategist who helps leaders build ethical, human-centered businesses in a world increasingly shaped by AI. After more than 40 years of working across tech, transformation, innovation, and leadership, she's learned that most business problems aren't actually technology problems, they're behavior problems that get amplified by technology. Welcome, Gry.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. It always makes me feel a little bit old when you say over 40 years. It's not quite 40 years. It's like 38.
That's okay. We're forever young at heart. I think that's one thing that's very exciting. And I know we've been trying to get this podcast going, so I'll ask you about, here we are, by doing 2026.
This is true.
But it's very exciting. For those who maybe don't know you too well, do you mind just sharing a bit about, I guess, like how you got to this spot here, why you wrote your book, and what you're doing now for 2026?
Thank you. So I studied computer science in the 80s in Manchester, England, and I actually met AI for the first time in 1986. Just like,
Wow.
That's almost 40 years ago.
Skynet.
It was a little bit different then, right? And why did I actually ended up doing, or it was actually called computation in those days. And I ended up doing that after thinking I wanted to be a doctor, I want to be this, that, and the other. And then I kind of had this epiphany that technology would underpin everything. So that's, and I had another criterion, which was to study overseas. I'm from Norway, from the land of the midnight sun. And, and a bit of that comes out in my book as well. The sort of my upbringing with a very loud and boisterous family, where no topic was was off the table. So that was kind of fun, but also I didn't know anything about, and we haven't really. I don't know if we're talking about that, but very much of my identity is what I call neurospicy. I'm not diagnosed. I'm just peer reviewed.
Yeah,
right?
That's fine.
I have family members who are diagnosed, and I don't need to be diagnosed. I'm kind of, but learning the tools when you accept that your brain is a little bit different wired than others is a different thing. But I started my career working for, multinationals, large ones back in the 80s, Control Data Corporation, the first sort of supercomputers, then to Oracle, then Oracle brought me to Australia, and I was in Sydney for 9 years. And then I kind of found my sweet spot more in that innovative, like sort of global companies, but with, 200-ish, less than 500 people globally, which was cool because you got to know everybody. And we were like at the forefront of educating and inventing new technologies, which I love to do. But I kind of sit in that space between technology business and the customer, if you like, and the user experience. So I found out like kind of, I guess 15, 20 years ago, it had a name. It was product management. So that's kind of where I spent more of that last part. I had a tech startup in about 10 years ago, and we raised money, and it was in health tech, and we were way ahead of the curve.
And then what happened?
We raised almost $1 million, but we couldn't get the next level of funding, which happens to a lot of startups. We learned a lot.
Yep.
We've learned a lot, failed and learned. But yeah, we were in that, interestingly, working in that space for child health and development and bridging the gap between health, education, and social. And everybody thought it was great, but there is no natural, if you like, obvious funder of it in Australia, at least. And we were trying to pitch in the US and things. But, we did it, and it was kind of cool, and we developed the first version, and then it's no more.
That's okay. I think at least you can say that you've been in startup founders' shoes as well in the past. Because I think sometimes talk to some founders on this part, like you get a lot of people who consult and come through and then they tell them what to do. But
Yeah.
they don't have
Yeah.
not really those consultants or those like organizations, some of them not actually gone through the pain, the joys and the pain of running a startup. So it's good you can actually then talk to businesses on how to help them transform, etc. So sorry, you want to say something?
And the joys when you actually get some money.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
and then, oh, hang on, I've just spent all that money on all these senior people or everybody else and forgot myself.
So before you get into like the thing we want to talk about, like AI and like, how to bridge the gap and help leadership and organizations do that, I want to definitely touch a bit more about your startup journey. So like after that happened, you couldn't get additional funding. Like what's the transition like for you? Like how do you grieve it? How do you tell your staff and your other people that are investing to you that, hey, this is not working out? And like what happened after that?
Well, it was interesting. I mean, it was kind of a relatively sudden stop, I should say.
Right.
Because we only had a few weeks of runway left, and we'd been working and working and working, and thought we had the next level of funding nailed, but we didn't. It's not there until it's in the bank. So our staff were aware that we were in the fundraising mode, but and then I decided to step out of it because I kind of out of operations and just be a silent partner for a while, and went back to consulting is what I did. And fortunately, all our team members got great jobs around about Perth, so that was good. Yeah, so but it was you do feel like a failure, but then you kind of also go, okay, well, I've tried this. I was working on something that was the analogy I like. I know, I don't know if you know Bill Ty from the sort of, startup and tech community, and he always uses the analogy of kite surfing. Now I've never kite surfed, but I know about being dumped by a wave, right? So you want to be on top just after the top of the wave, not in front of it. And I tend to often be in front because I have these brilliant ideas about solutions to problems people might not always know that they've got. So they still don't know they've got a problem, and I'm coming up with a solution, but there's that bridging the gap.
Timing.
And that was kind of one of my big learnings for me, that just because I can see the solution and connect the dots, this is way before I kind of accepted that my brain was different. So I'm going, why can't everybody see it?
Yeah.
So, but you learn as you live, and I went back to what did I do after that? Yeah, I thought I'd set up a business, but then I got approached by Moodle, so I was there for a year as a chief product officer, and then I decided to kind of go out and try my own stab at bridging that gap between education and the workplace, I guess. And then within a month, COVID happened, so that was fun.
Wow, interesting time.
But it's interesting times. But yeah, I'm back in the driver's seat, and I'm back in helping people kind of navigate AI or human first leadership in the age of AI, if I could use that term.
Yeah, that's so true. It's interesting because like a lot of you have shared is that, like a lot of people want that Steve Jobs Apple story where like, Steve was unhappy with like Blackberries and Nokia and those kind of phones, and he foresaw that, a new thing. But then of course, I think sometimes people love the story, but when reality hits, not everybody's Steve Jobs, timing, the networks, resources. They want that like, oh, I foresaw something that nobody else wanted to trust, but I went ahead with it and it became a success story kind of thing. So yeah.
But I guess, I mean, he's also in a different location than us, and he's well connected. And it wasn't just Steve Jobs that made Apple. I know he was a figure front, but he wouldn't have made it without others, but without the people around him. But he knew how to market. He was really good at understanding how to, was it the first iPod was 100 songs in your pocket or something like that?
1,000
right?
songs in your pocket. 1,000 songs in your pocket.
Was it 1,000? Yeah. And the max. I mean, I remember when I started working in '87, we all had a Mac, like one of those square ones that we had one for sharing between the whole dev team.
Amazing.
So
I've
been
a lot of
around
different
for a while.
factors. A lot of different factors, like the environment and your connections, and of course, timing is very important for a lot of startup founders as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, and having the right people around you. And I think we had a great team. So that was not the problem. The problem was actually understanding, how to talk the story of the story that the funders need to hear. No matter how much you get coached, you actually do that through experience. And I, throughout my career, I've been more of the problem solver. I was more the systems person, putting processes in place and all that sort of stuff. So it's only when I kind of started out by myself that I realized, oh my gosh, I'm a creative. I love doing the creative stuff. So,
Amazing.
But using tech and AI and other technology to help with that.
Sure. And that leads to the next part, because like you studying like things back in the day in the 80s, 90s, and seeing like the internet bubble, a lot of things have changed. Now AI, which is probably the next wave. Like, do you find, going into the main question, like how do you help bridge the gap and helping organizations be more like a human-centered organization that leverages AI and not be so afraid of it, or the other way around? Like, do you see any like similar?
Deep.
Yeah,
dive in at the deep.
Was there any like similarities? I guess now the AI boom, and then of course like when internet came back in the 2000s.
Yeah. I guess when the internet sort of rolled out, I guess I was kind of like in the middle, behind the scenes. We already had connectivity kind of because I was at Oracle, if you like, and we already were connected, and it was just a natural thing. We were just excited about all this sort of new stuff. But I guess what's happened in the last 3 years is that generative AI has come into the hands of everybody, right? And I see that a lot of people are using it without values and vision and strategy, right? So both on an individual level, on small level, it's great for finding out things. But, number of times I've been in groups and coaching groups, not mine, but attended things. And I've asked a question because I wanted to find out what real people, or what my real target audience are actually experiencing. And they go, have you asked AI? And I'm going, if you're going to live in AI, I live inside ChatGPT and Gemini and Copilot and Claude. What are you talking about? No, I want real humans that give me real answers every now and again. But it is easy to fall into that. I mean, I think people are less scared of AI now. Although some people are, they kind of go, oh, I just don't get it. And then some people are reluctant to jump. A lot of young people don't want to use AI, right?
Yep.
Because it's kind of taking over their lives. And if we, everybody thinks that AI is ChatGPT. No, not everybody. A lot of people think that that AI is synonymous or is only ChatGPT, but it's all the different things. So AI has been around us forever, and it's been watching us shopping, right?
Yeah.
The last 20 years, it's been noticing what we're buying, and not just on the internet, but in the stores. They have beacons that actually watch you and tap into your phone and all that sort of stuff that people kind of don't get, that it's been in our lives all the time, right? So what scares me, so we can't stop AI, we can't stop generative AI, we can't stop machine learning, but we can do is be responsible when we use any type of AI, whether it's large language models or some of the other automation or agentic AI. That's really scary to me.
That's the next one.
I'm not game to go into it because I'm not giving it my credit card.
Yeah, we can definitely dive to the latest. We can talk about the Claude bot or something later on as well. But like what you're describing right now is more like on an individual level, because even like the video games that grew up playing, it technically is AI, because they're there when you. It's technically like just more very narrowed down, constrained AI. But now I want to talk more like how you help with digital transformation for businesses, because like you speak a lot about leadership and organizations who maybe there's a lot of different perspectives, let's say, about their of AI.
And I don't, even though I speak about digital transformation, I don't particularly like the name digital transformation because I think it's about change and transformation, about people, and digital is the enabler, right?
Okay, nice.
But I have to use the term digital transformation because that's kind of what people understand with what I do, which is kind of in that, change and transformation space. And I remember doing a unit at UWA for my MBA, and it was called Change and Transformation, and the lecturer uh, uh, called it change is something you get told to do. Transformation is when the whole organization gets it, right? Or when you internally are transformed by things. So when it comes to, it's the same thing for any technology or any solution that you're doing, in my not so humble opinion, which is you've got to start with the problem. What is it that you're struggling with? Or on the flip side, what is it that you're not doing? And I say you, I mean plural, and in the organization or
Yep.
in yourself, right? Or what is it that you're not doing because don't you don't know how, or you don't want to, or it feels overwhelming and things like that. Could you automate that? Is that something we could tap into and use? But I also think that we have a massive opportunity with AI and other technologies um, to use that to amplify inclusion. So I talk about inclusion as the driver of ideas, innovation, and impact, and better outcomes for everybody, right? But I think that if we raise it right, which is kind of my framework, but that I I borrowed that from Mo Gordon, who was the chief business officer for Google X, the AI arm at Google, and he calls it being good parents to AI. And I just think that's such a great analogy, because it's our collective responsibility to make sure that AI doesn't go off and do bad stuff. And I don't know if he's changed this now, but he used to say that if only 10% of us are actually responsible and actually ask questions and tell it, then that will change the trajectory for good. It
Yep.
might
Yep.
might be more now. I haven't gone back and looked at it, so I should probably stop quoting it until I've taken it.
We'll definitely find out later as well. But that's very
Yeah.
interesting because, like, you're right. Because, like, I think the way I look at it, there's two spectrums. There's those organization or leaderships where they're like, we want to add AI to everything. And on the other hand,
Mm.
there's some people a bit skeptical, a bit slow to adopt it, implement it, and they're fearing kind of like this could be like
Yeah.
a Terminator Skynet kind of situation, potentially. It sounds a bit exaggerated, but like, I mean, I even had a client back in 2024. He runs just a patio company, and he kept asking me to add in like, or doing our meetups for his basically digitizing his business, more
Mhm.
automated. He kept saying you should add in a chat bot. I was like, sure.
Yeah.
What for? He's like, oh, because is it that what everybody needs to do now? I'm like, yes, but you go back to what you said. Like, what's the problem you're trying to solve first? You know what I mean? And his audience, his main clients in his area were actually people in their 60s. I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, right. Maybe it won't be so good because they can't use their phones as well. They still ring us for the quotes and
Wait,
whatnot.
I'm in my
Yeah.
60s. Come on.
But it depends on the environment. They're more relaxed, more retired, the kind of thing. They're still like, they want to go fishing and everything. They don't like using phones. Like he told me like they will drive 45 minutes one way just to get a quote and drive back to the house because they don't want to use a phone, the kind of thing. So my question to you is now like what's the current situation now, 2026? Like what are most organizations or people you've spoken to observe? What's the current, I guess, concern or issue for them right now?
I think that uh, quite a lot of leaders are worried because their team are slow at uptake, and I talk to a lot of people who work in organizations. Like even my partner, he kind of works in an organization, and he is not tech savvy. Can I just say he's not tech savvy at all? He won't mind me saying that. But he was one of the first people to start using large language models, I should say, but actually use it in his workplace and things like that. But then sort of starts stripping in. But a lot of the advisors or the consultants are kind of going, oh, we're just going to put this in here, this in here, but they don't go through that change and transformation process, if you like. They don't actually go and look at what is the problem we're solving, who's got
Mm,
the problem, and why do we need to do that? Is it going to make our business better? Is it going to help our business grow, or bring in the right customers, or whatever it is? So I think, hey, I've got this framework, I'm going to throw that in here. Maybe that's what you do now. Oh, you ask the
Mm.
questions, don't you, Ian?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? I mean, it's a conversation here, but it's so
Yeah.
true though, because I think sometimes when it comes to AI, like I saw a friend of mine on Facebook, like I think a month ago, he posted something saying a lot of business. He's a coach, marketing coach. He said a lot of business owners he works with get caught up with trying to learn AI, but not really growing the business. Like they end up just like
Yeah.
searching on YouTube for like prompts. Oh, how can this do that? And then like they're missing the point of like what we're doing exactly. And then they get lost in this rabbit hole of like
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I mean,
contributing.
there are so many rabbit holes, right?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So you focus more on helping them like look, I guess like rather than outside in, you're helping them look inside out. Is that like how you develop your Raise IT right framework?
It's
Is that
called
the one?
Raise It Right. Raise It Right.
Raise it right. Raise it right.
But
Sorry,
it's
my
spelled
bad.
with AI and IT. So I
Yeah.
just felt that there was something, and it's kind of a catchy phrase as well. But when people see it spelled out with
Yeah.
uppercase AI and IT, they kind of get what it's about, and it's all around that being good parents. But it's really about having those conversations, about understanding what the problems are, understanding who needs to be involved, and also using that to lever in and bring in the voices that aren't generally heard, because I do a lot of talks on diversity and inclusion and, you know, as levers for innovation, as levers for better impact and things. So it's really just about looking in, it's kind of like design thinking related. So
Yeah.
I go in and I direct and I talk with the leadership team about what it is that we're trying to achieve. Then we do discovery, then we do design, we develop it and or deploy it, and then we deliberate, as in we talk. That's kind of my 5Ds process that I use for that. But it's to me, it's nothing different than any jobs that I've done in the past, in the fact that we need to listen to people. We need to listen to the people who aren't heard as well. So I come at things from two sides. One is, what are the problems that we're trying to solve, and who are we not listening to? Who's not being
Right.
heard, and who should we listen to, right? So I'm just doing working on a workshop now that's called like Unmasking Potential, and how inclusion can drive innovation and impact. And I keep saying that. I'm going to stop saying it because I've had my head inside that all day today.
That's fine.
But it's just about learning that we're not homogenous and we need all those perspectives in. And that's all part of the Raise It Right framework and being good parents to AI, that we can't just... AI isn't bad, but it's also not good, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to put a picture of this. Is it like almost like, if I can say, it's like you're the parent, you got a young family of like say 2 or 3 kids, and you're introducing maybe an adopted child. You just adopted from an orphanage or maybe a puppy. Like, how do you help the younger folk in this case, like the kids, but in this case, organizations, their elderly staff members, their stuck in their ways of staff members. Like, how do they trickle down that behavior, beliefs, values, and principles to ensure the organization adopts AI properly without somebody saying like, I hate touching ChatGPT, it's read all my information. Or the other hand, somebody ends up, like I think America, some guy uploaded a government document to ChatGPT by accident or whatnot. How do you...
Maybe it wasn't by accident.
I don't know. I realize I'll go to that route.
But
yeah,
I think privacy and security is a really valid concern around AI, right?
true.
So, because it will use things. The thing is, how do you balance it where it's biased in everything it's reading, right? So if it only can read things that are leaning one way, it will only lead you one way. The other thing, that if we are just talking about generative AI and large language models, is that it's trained to please you. So if you say, oh, I love that, it's going to keep giving you that.
Yeah.
And it still tries to do it even when I tell it I do not want that.
Yeah, I saw something on Reddit to gaslight it.
I try. But I think that it's really about having open doors and being open to different perspectives, and that is then going to help AI. But it's when you're listening to organizations, I think what you're trying to ask me, what is your process? And I have conversations with people about, and I've always done this any project I've walked into. as a consultant or as a speaker is like I go in and I listen. What do they call it? 2 ears, 1 mouth. I know it doesn't sound like it right now, right? I listen very fast, yeah.
Sure.
It's part of my superpower.
Because I want to know, because like sometimes organizations, they have like deadlines, so then they want to adopt and, like get in front of the race, I guess, depending on your industry or whatnot. Like sometimes you see or hear people going like, oh, my director or CEO like commanded everybody to start learning AI. Otherwise, we're out of our jobs kind of thing. So like, how do you help
Yeah.
them adopt it without, their own teams or their own staff feeling threatened
Yeah.
about their jobs, or like if they're going to lose out on like the next decade or whatnot? How do you help them get to that next stage?
So when I talk to leaders, I talk about team activate or AI activation workshops or programs or a sprint. So it takes a little while for changes to embed, right, or for transformation to embed. So I talk about creating and running a sprint that's an enablement sprint that is actually about taking on board everybody. I have one organization that I've been working with, and the founder has been going, we need to use AI. I'm using AI all the time, but some of the people are reluctant, and they're not necessarily older. Can I just say that some of us oldies are quite curious about this, and even my mother is 88 years old, and she is using ChatGPT. All right.
Yeah.
Don't bag the old people.
Of course, no, I don't mean that at all.
But sometimes they don't have the. I'm just kidding. But sometimes they don't have the tech clout, if you like, to actually know when and not. And I was just showing a dear friend of mine who was very AI illiterate, very smart person, but I'd set them up to use ChatGPT, and she opened her computer, and then it said, how are you feeling today? Or what's on your mind today? Right, is what it says, right? Not how are you feeling. And she's going, does it really want to know? And I'm going, you can tell it and it'll give you things, but please do not use it as a therapist. Now, this person is in, I guess, my age or younger than, under 60. Under 60. But because of the way that it's trained and it works, and I keep on using ChatGPT as an example, but all the others are kind of more hidden, right? So it's doing all this stuff behind the scenes that we don't know about, yeah. But I think the important thing is to have the conversations, and so I always say AI is not going to take your job, or your business, but people who use AI may, right? And I think that clarity, and then it's a bit like, if I can use the analogy that just popped into my head. Sorry, this is how my brain works. Little butterflies that fly around. But the analogy of diversity and inclusion and gender balance in a workplace, right? A lot of guys, well, a lot of women don't want to be troubled because that's how we were conditioned. A lot of guys are going, can I say that? Am I allowed to say that? Is it safe to ask that question? And it's the same about AI. It's because you don't want to seem like you're dumb, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to ask questions that seem dumb, because none of us really want to be dumb. But there is no such thing as dumb, right? There's no such thing as a silly question. You can ask any question and, you might get an answer from AI or you could have a conversation. So actually, one of the things that I then encourage is having those kind of office hours or whatever. Hey, let's talk about all things AI. What's come up for you today? What are you thinking about this? And creating those psychologically safe places, both in terms of bringing in your different perspectives and in terms of asking questions where you don't quite understand, right? So I think having regular sort of, it's like the water cooler chats, right?
Yeah.
Which we have less and less of, unless somebody actively sets up a session where it's okay to drop in. So I always used to have that in. I have drop in here, but nobody comes to my house at the moment. but I've always had an open door kind of policy. But I've also said then that between these hours, I need to focus on other things, but it's open at all times, or it's open between these things where we can talk about this and these things. And that's also been virtual, because I've always been in geographically dispersed teams.
Yeah.
That's what I should
Yeah.
say.
No, that's very
Yeah.
interesting. I agree that having those like water cooler type chats, but like the next part I want to discuss is like what you mentioned is when it comes to the inclusion side, like you mentioned that having too much inclusion can deter quality of decisions and whatnot. So like that's one of my concerns. Sometimes we hear people like saying, let's talk about AI, let's have these workshops, like it's that typical thing where it's like some organizations that work in the past, they bring in like, these coaches or like these consultants that sometimes a lot of rah, but not enough depth or substance that ends up being
Mm.
like a 60-minute or 90-minute session. And a lot of staff members goes, well, that's a waste of time. Like, how do you, I guess, help adopt that so that the actual essence and the actual problems are being addressed without diluting this decision
Yeah.
quality from there?
I think you need to create rules, and I'll bring in an analogy from Startup Week in a while. But I don't think inclusion is a problem, right?
Yeah.
But if you're doing it just for the numbers, so I talk about diversity, inclusion, and belonging.
Yeah.
But diversity is a number, really. Inclusion is having a seat at the table, and belonging is having your voice heard. And in a lot of organizations, we don't actually have that. It's um, lip service, if you like. Yeah, we've got X number of so and so, and I say, well, so what are your DEI or what are your inclusion initiatives that you've run? Oh, we've done unconscious bias training for 3,000 people, and I say, and did it change the dial? Right. So I have some algorithms which I use to kind of look at how did it affect the people that are actually exposed to the bias. I don't like calling it unconscious. I call it intrinsic, because if you've been told once, it can't be unconscious anymore. Right?
Yeah.
but those kind of things. So there are a lot of programs out there, and some really good programs. But if you leave it up to people to just sit and learn from an on-demand training, or like I started a contract once, and I spent 2 full days of 8 hours watching induction onboarding stuff of things that had nothing to do with my role, like how to tag things out in the field and things like that. I'm going, I'm in the office. Do I need to watch this?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if you leave people to their own devices, having to learn from a talking head on a video or whatever. Well, if it were up to me, I'd be playing it at triple speed,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
and not
it's
catching it. So it's really about having the conversations, and I'll bring it back to that at all times, bringing things back to the conversations, making sure that we ask those people who may not have offered an opinion, making sure that we create that safe space where it's okay to ask something, that we listen. I mean, having been woman in tech for a very long time, and let me just share with you, there are still not, we're long far way away from um balance in the tech
sure.
industry and in many other industries. I'm doing some work with some energy organizations. There's so few women in there, and some of the big tech companies have 25% women, but that's still only a quarter, right? But having been the only woman in the boardroom with a bunch of guys for a long time, and then you come up with something novel and new, and then nobody bats an eyelid, and then somebody else says it 5 minutes later, and then going, hang on, that was my idea.
Yeah. But agree.
Because you
I
need
want
to
get back
get the sponsors. Yeah.
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 I want to get back to the point of like how to get an organization to share to the right, because when you do these kind of workshops or going around to help
Yep.
with the transformation side of things, there is always going to be some, by the way, be the C-suite, the owner, the directors who are more dominant when they put in their
Yep.
words in, or and you go to some staff members who want to give the 2 cents all the time. And of course, you see
Yep.
on the other spectrum,
Yep.
those who like
Yep.
in the back of their mind
Yep.
is like,
Yep.
I don't think I like this topic, or I like this tool we're implementing, but I don't feel qualified to step into the workshops or whatever.
Yep.
In a large organization, say like 50 to 200, etc., how do you, and like, because I guess, like I'm trying to come to a point where it's like, if an organization has a time limit or budget to have like consultants like yourself to come through, like how do you like filter
Yeah.
through and make sure that they still
Yeah.
get the outcome they want without
Yeah. So
Wasting
Um,
time.
so I always leave, if I'm just doing a workshop like type thing, then I always leave them with activities that they can do, and I leave the and it's usually the learning and development and HR people that bring in this kind of initiatives, right? So talking about employee engagement tools and things like that, but actually, are we seeing a change in behavior? Because it's all about behavior. And those engagement tools don't necessarily, some of them do, some of them are getting better, change that. But it's about having the tools and creating that culture of inclusion, that safe culture where it's okay to be yourself and bring your perspectives in. So I don't know if I answer your question, but it's about having checkpoints. It's about giving people activities to do that then
Milestones.
get checked over time. So, in my ideal world, I'll do a talk and then I'll come back in a couple of weeks later and do a check-in, right? So
Sure.
to make sure that actually is working and that's implemented and set in, because that's part of the kind of process. But sometimes
Right.
when you're a speaker, you just come in and you do a talk and then you're out again. But ideally, if you learn the organization when you're talking about things, right? So when you're doing a workshop and things. So does that semi answer your question?
Semi, yeah, it's a very particular thing because there's also like the sensitivity, like you said, trying to bring in the right people, have it
Yeah.
diverse. But also number 3 is like I'm somebody who resonates with like CEOs and like directors where you just want to cut through the fluff, avoid the bureaucracy, and also vice
Yeah.
versa. If you're on the front
Yeah.
lines, like you're a sales manager or sales staff, that you want to not have somebody take away your time just so HR can tick off a box, the kind of thing. So it's more
But
like
it's
how
not
to
HR.
work.
Yeah. So I guess
Yeah,
the key thing to me is actually to get those leaders on board and be the champions and the sponsors of the initiatives, right? So you can't embed a culture unless you've got the leadership team on
yeah,
board, right? It can't be driven by people and culture by itself. It needs to be sponsored by the CEO, COO, whatever that person is. So what you can work really hard, and there are some fantastic people and culture people that have made amazing impact. But I guess one of the interesting things is, with the ESG reporting, right?
yeah.
That's required. There are tick boxes, but there actually has to be some proof around it as well. And there are a number of organizations that are working on that as well. So, my tip number 1 would be to let's have a chat with the executives or the C-level executives and get them on board first, even if it's the people and culture or whatever. At least it's at that level, because that
Sure.
needs to be owned by the executive leadership. That makes sense?
It does
So,
make sense.
and that is the challenge. And I don't know that I can always get to that, but most of them, I have some conversations with them as well. And it's easy to say yes, yes, yes. But I've had conversations, where I've been told that there is no gender imbalance. And I'm going, okay, well, that's your lived experience. I've never seen that. And I'm going, yeah, because you're not a woman, or you're not a migrant, or you're not
We're talking about tech here.
neurospicy.
Yeah, we're
Pardon?
talking about tech here, and we're just talking about technology, AI here,
Yeah,
more so. But like
yeah.
in terms of like now for 2026, since the technology space, AI is going so fast, like I definitely want to ask you, like, what is your recommendation for business leaders and how they should, I guess, shape their way of thinking for 2026 moving forward? How do they keep up without getting lost into the rabbit hole while still being able to drive transformation in their organizations when things are going so
That,
fast right now?
you should have given me, but I didn't get that question in advance.
Sorry, came on the spot. Conversational. Yeah,
No, so I think and this goes through all levels, from individuals through up to leadership, is what is the problems we're trying to solve, and then not getting lost. I know I get lost all the time in AI because I want to rectify it. I want it to get better, and I want to be a good parent to it. So I don't get lost. I just get frustrated, but that's a different thing. But I think the important thing for leaders to do is to enable their team members as well. Own it. Be sure that you are sponsoring that change, that you are walking the talk, if you like, and that you are stopping and asking those people that may not be so engaged to kind of step in and give them a voice, if you like, and amplify those voices. I think that's really important with AI as well. So I think we can agree that you can't run a business without AI or technology nowadays.
Of course. Yeah.
Like whatever, I'm trying to think. I'm sure you can't run a farm without technology either, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a tiny little one.
Even
You
small
can't run
fraction. Yeah.
like all the people who are off grid and things like that. There's loads of technology there, right? So you cannot do that. So it's kind of getting with it and making sure that you understand what it is, what your goals are with your business, and align it with that. You can't just say we need to use AI or we need to use this technology. I mean, the pre-AI, pre-generative AI, the number of times I watched organizations get a new top leader and they go, oh, we're going to use this CRM now. Okay, yeah, but we've already got one. Or we're going to use this system because that's what they brought with them. And then they brought with them the people from that other organization as well, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's really about walking into it with curiosity and an open mind, and understanding that there are budget constraints, but also understanding where AI can save you time. And I'm just going to use AI and technology can save you time, and where it can be a time suck, but also focusing on those things that are a time suck or and I think that AI has a huge role in terms of innovation as well, driving innovation and impact, if you like. I know idea generation. I could sit in AI all the time and come up with new ideas, but that's not really going to pay my bills, is it?
I want to ask you that one though. I want to ask you that because I think you see like some things like popping on YouTube or like social media that people are concerned that IQ is going down since AI has been introduced now. That
Yeah.
the idea of sitting down with a pen and paper or even a computer just to kind of let your mind think through. Now everybody's going to ChatGPT or Gemini immediately, like first thing for any question that the critical thinking and IQ aspects going down.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
I think there are aspects. I think you have to do everything consciously, right? So you can use AI consciously, but a lot of people don't because they haven't grown up with that. So Gen Zs, they have very different problems. So the Zoomers, like they have very different problems to the Gen Y and millennials and things like that because they don't know a world without technology, right?
True.
So they will sit and they will doom scroll. And the problem is, I was just I watched the beginning of the latest Diary of a CEO, right, about brain rot, which is one of the and it's true, it happens, right? So you need to activate your brain in other ways. I can only imagine what the rates of Alzheimer and dementia are going to be in, say, 40 years.
True. Good question.
People who hit my age in 40 years because we've killed off those creative and those critical things. I think critical thinking is absolutely essential because, for anything. And there was somebody who went around and looked at, this new social media laws here, which is all AI related and algorithms and algorithms feeding things. I mean, I love watching silly pet movies, right? Pets doing funny things. But now I'm going, is that AI generated or is that a real pet? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, but this guy had done, I think it was like a Churchill scholarship or something, and he had gone to specifically Finland and Estonia, and they teach critical thinking from school without AI, and they do it still because they lived so close to Russia. And it was infiltrated by people who were trying to manipulate the thing. So they've been teaching critical thinking all the time. So I think that if we look at AI and if we look at social media and, social media ban, which is not about parents and children being punished, it's about taking the big tech to what they're actually responsible for and things like that. But if we don't teach critical thinking from a very young age, and I mean, there are horror stories with moms breastfeeding and they're scrolling on the phone when eye
Yeah.
contact is so essential, right? But that's because they didn't know better, because it's kind of like, I'm just sitting here. But if you take that away, so there's some huge issues around technology, AI, brain rot. I think that we need to, I think say about everything, the pendulum goes like all
Yeah.
the
I was
way
gonna say
over,
that
and
as
then,
well.
whoo, let's get it back here again and see what happens. I don't know if that answered your question, but
It's good.
I
That's when
went off on tangents.
it's more like get your perspective in it, because I had another guy on the pod. He's a startup trying to encourage Americans to go back out to the nature side of things.
Yeah,
Still, I don't know how he's. I need to double check how he's using AI now, because he just started his project. But he said something similar as well. It's been like a pendulum swing. A lot of people are getting
yeah,
sick of the
yeah,
phones, computers, it being
yeah,
around everywhere. So he's building something to encourage people to find like nature walks, hikes, that kind of thing, to just enjoy
yeah,
the other side
yeah,
again. People who are sick of it, getting a bit fatigued from all this like technology, AI stuff now. That's
yeah.
what he's trying to do, which is quite interesting for his startup. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's is it Pokemon, the thing that made people go out and look for Pokemons?
Oh, yeah. What's it called? I don't know.
No,
What's the app now?
Pokemon.
Pokemon Go. I think the app. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Pokemon Go. Because it did do something. It actually made people active, because that's the other thing. I mean,
True.
um, I have young nephews and nieces. I don't have kids, but they kind of lie still quite a lot, right? Oh, actually, they don't so much, because some of them are gymnasts. So, but I watch kids that are, and everything is so regimented, right? So this isn't just about technology, but our whole culture has become, you know, my partner is a football coach, and as in soccer, you guys call it, I call it the world game. But he says as soon as they finish training, they're up with their phones, if they're old enough to have their phones, right? On
Right.
them straight away. And it's in this thing with Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of the CEO, the guy was saying that it's the short video content that is so addictive, because the big tech know what they're doing. They're putting out things that are engineered to be addictive. So how can we protect kids and adults from it? At least I lived in a time when there was no tech like this, right? So I had to just learn by being around people and being out in nature. But I think
Yeah.
that there
Hmm.
were some other startups here a while ago, actually here in Perth even, that looked at using technology to get kids to go to the parks and things like not Pokemon Go, but something that was actually educating. So it was science related or STEM related. So you know, I think we can. I think we can certainly engage AI to help getting people back and out again and having that connection.
Yeah, I don't know. I have this Chrome extension right now where basically it blocks YouTube Shorts for me. So in case I end up going on it, so I think the short real videos are like dopamine hits. So I find that once I removed that, my brain just started like felt better,
Yeah,
especially using my computer when I'm searching, looking for
yeah,
music to like just like relax while working, whatever it is. I find
yeah,
without having no YouTube Shorts or Reels, just
mm,
gave my mind a nice break. I didn't feel so
yeah,
exhausted
yeah,
after
yeah,
using it.
yeah,
I went through that rabbit hole again. But yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting. Very interesting.
It is interesting for sure. But I mean, um, I have a podcast called Vitalify Unplugged, and we talk about health and well-being and
Mm.
science and technology and everything in between for quirky humans that are navigating the messy middle. But we talk about brain rot, then we talk about brain fog, and we mix it all in, because it is part of reality today. We're not going to get away from it. It's not going to disappear unless you want to go and live somewhere where it doesn't exist, where it's
Yeah.
not connected. But Elon Musk might send you a Starlink, if you give him some.
Yeah, yeah. He's desperate. He'll
So
say you're Starlink. Yeah.
yeah. But I think what we need to see is that everything is interlinked, and AI is not a thing that lives by itself, right?
Mm.
So it's you know I've lived in a lot of different cultures and places, and but it was a long time ago, you know, when we just had electricity and wood fire sometimes and outdoor toilets.
Yeah, so true. So true. Gry, this has been great. Definitely I'll share your links down in the show notes later. But where's the best place for people to get in contact with you if they want to find more about your book, about your services,
Oh,
your
yeah. That's a good
consulting
question.
side of
Thank
things?
you. My
Yeah,
book. I forgot about my book. I didn't forget about my book because my book actually gave me the perspectives on, on my brain and helped me
sure.
kind of navigate that and process that. And okay, so my brain's different. And then it also, after my book tour now, I've just kind of managed to integrate that into my bigger picture around inclusion and AI and things like that. But LinkedIn is usually a safe bet. I am pretty active there. But my on my website, grystene.rocks, dot
Rocks.
rocks.
Okay.
It works with
Nice.
.com as well, but I like the .rocks. And that has a link through to my book site, but the book site's called Full Throttle and Talk. But if you want to connect with me, check out what I do and things like that. LinkedIn is usually a good bet. And my like most tech people, my website's kind of needs a bit of TLC every now and again,
That's fine. That's fine.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Gry, for your time. We appreciate it. And again, I'm really excited to see. Maybe we'll get you on next time, maybe in a year's time, maybe 6 months' time, when things have drastically changed in the AI tech world again. But we'll speak soon again, shortly.
Yeah, we will do. Thanks for having me in.
Thanks for tuning in to the She Fun Show. If you're a business owner who's ready to modernize a business and use AI automation to increase its sales while claiming back their own time, give us a call at www.prosperumdigital.com.au. Don't forget to like and subscribe as we're now on YouTube, and give us a follow